pretty much a household name in the film industry. So you're going to be talking here at the roundtables at Blood in the Snow. Tell us what are you going to talk about in this panel?
Well, I mean, I think the purpose of the roundtables are people are going to come and find out what's involved in producing movies, but also because I have my own distribution company and sales company, what that's all about as well. This year I produced my 56th film, maybe even 57th, and for the most part it's been through the traditional scenario of telefilm, MVC, blah, blah, blah. And now, because of the way money is tight and hard to get, most of the films that I'm doing now are privately financed or pre-sold, and all that money is being used to make the movie. And I used to make $6 million movies, and now I'm making movies for under $500,000. Because that's what you have to do if you want to make a movie.
Right.
I'm not interested in waiting 5 to 10 years to make a movie. I want to make at least 1 to 3 movies a year. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to do that, this is how you have to do it. Mm-hmm. And the reality is a lot of the movies that are made in this country previously for $1 million or $1.5 million, there's a lot of fat that goes into those movies, like having a 65 crew who mostly sit around and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. I've been making my films with 15 crew who are all there for the right reason, who are passionate, like me, to make a movie, and a good movie. And we all come in, we do our day's work, and we go home. And it becomes almost a camaraderie family kind of atmosphere.
Right.
And we get down to business. And it's just, that's how it is, and that's how it was with Life Changer, which I made is traveling all over the world right now, and doing really, really well. Is that was the whole idea about how we were going to make that movie, and the same thing has gone into this movie, Altered Skin. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the mistakes that are like a lot of up and coming directors or filmmakers are getting themselves into when they want to make a movie? And
it all comes down to one thing. It's the idea. It starts with an idea, and then you can take a great idea and make a great script. You can't take a bad idea and make a good script. Like, it all comes down to the idea, and if the idea is terrible, you're going to have a terrible movie. You can't fix a terrible idea. And I read probably 100, 150 scripts a year looking for those good ideas. And I don't really care if the script is horribly written, because if I can find that inherent good idea, I know I can make a good movie out of a good idea. But I can't make a good movie out of a bad idea. So I really look for that idea. And the other thing is that once you have that idea, you have to spend time focusing on that script. You can't rush it. And many indie filmmakers in this country and abroad, they don't take enough time to focus on their script. They're in a hurry. It's like, there's no timeline. Work on the words, because if you don't have them, the follow through after that is not going to pay off. Mm-hmm. So script is everything. I mean, even with Adnan's Altered Skin, we weren't happy with the script. It took us basically from 2012 to end of 2015 to get that script where it needed to be. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm really proud of it. I mean, I think it's a solid script. Life Changer, same thing. That was 4 years to get that script and financing in place to make it. So I think if you focus on the script and you get that document into great shape, you'll find the money.
But do you feel like a lot of filmmakers are still doing that route, even though like they won't listen, and then I guess what happens?
They don't listen.
Yeah, what happens to them then?
Well, I mean, they'll make a movie and then they won't make any more movies. I mean, part of the scenario is you're only as good as your last movie. Absolutely. So if you bomb it on your first go, how are you going to convince somebody to give you money to make a second movie? I mean, I pride myself in every single movie that I've made, of the 56 or whatever that I've made. I don't think I have a bad film. I mean, I look at 1 Week, which is the first film I ever produced. It still rings as probably my favorite film. It still rings as probably, of all the films I've made, the most popular Canadian film that I've made. I just was talking to a head person at Rogers Television today, who said that, you know, of all the Canadian films he's seen, and he's pretty much in my age, said that it's his favorite Canadian film.
Nice.
So, when you talk to people, that's how they feel. So, you know, I feel like there's no time mandate to make a movie. It's find the right material and get it into position to then you can go and raise the money and make the movie. I generally have 5 to 10 projects going at the same time, and with the idea that I'm going to make 2 to 3 a year.
Now, what's the difference between the first film you produced to the last film you produced?
The size of the budget.
The size of the budget.
Because,
yeah.
I mean, look, I made Score Hockey Musical, which was $6.3 million. You can't raise that money here anymore. Those days are gone. I mean, of the last 15 films that I've made, the budget hasn't been higher than $1 million. So, and many of them made for under 300.
Will it get to that point again, do you think, in the future, in the near future?
I think that the problem in this country is the government doesn't have an appetite for culture. So they're not going to put money in to things like that, especially when our infrastructure of roads and healthcare and everything else is at stake. Climate change, whatever. I think that, yes, culture is important and we need to support culture in Canada, but we also have to find unique ways of funding our films. I mean, back in the 80s, we used to have this thing called private investment that the government allowed private people to put money in, and they would get a tax savings in being able to do that. The problem is that many people use it as a tax shelter. So instead of doing what it was meant to be done, they took advantages for their own personal gain. So the government caught on to that and they killed the program.
Right.
If we could create a program that works under the auspices that real people are putting real money into culture because they care and they can, and that we can provide them an incentive to do that, then we would see more private investment happen in Canada. And I think that's what we need to do. You know, Altered Skin was all private money, and it was $200,000 to make it, because we couldn't, through the normal system of government funding and things like that, we couldn't get the money. So we had to go down that road. And I'm not opposed to going down that road, but it's hard to go to a private investor and say, so the deal is it's 100% risk with no guaranteed rate of return, which means it's like going to Vegas. You take $5,000 in your pocket, and you know hopefully, you may not come back with it. Right? That's not the greatest pitch in the whole wide world. Let's be honest, right? So,
how'd it go this morning?
But we got to find a way.
But how does that, like, sometimes like that doesn't make sense where like all the film festivals here in Toronto, like TIFF and every other film festival, you know, we got a great Toronto crowd, you know. We have so many people going to certain films, but yet the government still won't like, you know, support Canadian film. You know what I mean?
Well, look, I mean, I think it's multifaceted. I think the first thing is that, you know, TIFF used to program a ton of Canadian films. Now they program maybe 25, 28 Canadian films a year. There are film festivals like Calgary International, Whistler, Cinefest in Sudbury that are programming almost as many, if not more, Canadian films than the largest film festival in Canada. That's a problem. It's a problem that TIFF is not programming and supporting Canadian cinema. It's a problem. It's a problem that Cineplex and Landmark barely play a Canadian film. As a matter of fact, a spokesman for Cineplex said, when I approached them about playing a Canadian film, said, well, we're in the business to make money, and Canadian films don't make money. So, no, we're not going to play your film.
So there's still a stigma that surrounds Canadian films.
But I mean, it's because we're not supporting our own. Go to other countries, they support their own. We're not supporting our own here. We need to. And there's a great community of people here, actors, writers, directors, grips, electrics, you name it, that are here, that do top-notch work. We create top-notch content, and we need to have an opportunity to do that. And, you know, if it wasn't for the tax credits to bring the American production here, this business would be dead. We'd have a lot of unemployed film people here. And it's only because of the tax credits and the fact that our dollar is in the toilet right now. That's why shows are coming. and no disrespect. I mean, we have great crew here, and we have great locations, and we have great studio space, and so on. But let's be honest. The only reason why they're coming here is the tax credits and the dollar.
Yeah. Do you? So for this panel coming up today, actually. Do you feel like they're going to ask you a common question that, or is that common question going to come up? And what do you think that common question is going to be when that does come up?
Well, I mean, I get asked as a producer, what are you looking for? I mean, I get even asked as a distributor, what are you looking for? I mean, I think what I'm looking for is good films. And I got to tell you, they're like finding a needle in a haystack. And for every good film, there's 15 bad films. And as a distributor, I get sent screeners all the time. If I would be willing to take it on for Canada distribution or American distribution or both. And I gotta tell you, like, I can't, many of them, most of them, I can't do anything with them. I can't make any money off them for sure. And I can't find an audience for most of them for sure. It's a problem. So I think we need to focus on, and we have to stop just listening to our own voice. Like, you as a filmmaker could think you have the best property in the entire world, but that's your opinion. You should go around and find out if, in fact, your opinion is the right opinion before you start schlepping it around, trying to get somebody like me or whatever to take it, right? There's a lot. The problem with many filmmakers is, I like to use the quote, they're a legend in their own mind.
Right.
And, just because you want to make a film and because you want to see this film on the screen doesn't mean everybody else does. Right. And I think we have to really focus on what is the marketplace bearing right now? Yeah. There's so much content out there. Since the digital technology, anybody can go into VizTech or Henry's and buy a digital camera and make a film. And that's caused the quality of the films to go down significantly. And I think what we need to do is focus on story, right? And then that will dictate whether or not the movie needs to get made or it doesn't.
How do you feel about social media and movies and how they tie in together? Can you comment a little bit about that?
I would say that without social media, there's no way to real publicize a movie anymore. I mean, print ads really nobody cares about anymore. TV ads are too expensive and really aren't that effective anymore. The internet is where most of your PR is now, right?
Right.
And obviously there's people like you and Norm Wilner and all the other people out there that are out watching content, reviewing content, speaking to people like me and talking about the making of the content and the industry and so on. But the internet and social media plays a big place in, and is it Facebook that's going to be the place to publicize it, or is it Twitter, or is it Instagram? I mean, I can't keep up. And, I read something this week that Facebook is on the way out, and, there's a lot of issues because of the whole Russia influence that has made people think twice about Facebook now.
Yeah.
But then you can't really promote a movie on Twitter or Instagram like you can on Facebook, really. It's harder.
Yeah.
I mean, Instagram has video, but it's still not as effective, I don't think.
No.
You can't tell the long message you'd ideally like to tell like you can on Facebook. And what is that next site going to be to help get the word out? I don't know. But I think the best form of social media you can have is word of mouth.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we focus on that. I mean, as a distributor, I can tell you, I don't know how many times filmmakers want to give me their film and move on to their next film and not have anything to do with the release of their own movie. And I'm going, well, then I'm not interested in releasing your movie. Like, the work starts now. You finish your film, but now you got to get an audience, right? And if you're relying on me only to do that for you, I don't want your movie.
Why do they stop there? I don't get it. Like, why don't the directors
because they're not into it. Listen, a lot of directors are introverts. They don't have any appetite for going on social media and talking on social media and doing the rounds with their film. Many of them just want to be creative and make their movie and then make another one and make another one. And it's not how it works. And then there's a lot of producers that don't know how to produce properly. and then they don't know what's involved in getting the film out there. What marketing materials you need to have before make the film. Like, I'm already working on marketing materials for all of my movies before I even make the movie. You have to. You have to be ready so that the moment your film is done, you're all over the festival circuit, boom, you're all over trying to get international sales and distribution and everything, and then figuring out how the movie's going to come out. Most filmmakers, producers, directors, they don't think about that, and they need to, right? It's a problem.
I've always encountered that, like when interviewing directors from TIFF. It's like it doesn't seem like they care about like the actual the soldier of it.
Listen, most of them are guns for hire, especially the bigger movies. They don't give a shit. They got paid their DGA salary and their points, and which are big, I will tell you, as a DGA director. But it's the studio's worry on the indie scene. I think you will see the indie directors that travel around the festival circuit. They're passionate. They're willing to go and do tons of interviews and talk to as many people as they can and promote the film and stuff. It just depends on the film, right? But I think every film requires that the filmmakers, be it director, producers, are actively involved in the release of the movie.
Absolutely. Sure. Aside from the films that you produce, what film has impressed you over the last, let's say, 3 years?
I mean, I think there's a lot of really good films out there. I mean, there's a Canadian film which I love a lot, which is Sleeping Giant, which I think is fantastic. I mean, Closet Monster is fantastic. There's a movie called Firecracker that was out at TIFF, which is fantastic. Bohemian Rhapsody just blew my fucking mind. I mean, his performance in that movie, I can't even put into words. I mean, the new Coen Brothers movie I saw in Busan, South Korea, a couple months ago, and I turned to Justin after and I went, I don't even know what to say. Like, I was just so blown away by that movie. I was like flabbergasted.
Nice.
And then you look at Michael Moore's new movie, which, I'm a very passionate political guy, and I just walked into that theater and I wanted to punch somebody in the face. I was so angry. Right? That's great. That's what makes a really good movie. Is when you walk out of the theater, you're emotional, whether you be angry or you cry. And I am a big believer in crying. Like Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't know how many times I lost my shit and bawled all over my lap. That is what it's about, man.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 week, people. I'll tell you a quick story. So we made 1 week. About 6 months after we did our theatrical, I got a phone call from a woman in California who asked me if the film was available in the U.S. And I said, unfortunately, we haven't sold to the U.S. yet. But what can I do for her? And she says, well, I'm originally from London, Ontario. We live in California now, my husband and I. Our kids live in London, Ontario. My friend told me that we should watch your movie because my husband has been diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And he doesn't want to go into treatment. He thinks it's over. And we obviously want him to fight. And my friend saw your movie at a festival and said, we should convince him to see this movie, it'll change his mind. And I said, hey, she says, our kids are coming down next week. We were hoping to sit down and watch the movie as a family. Would you mind sending it to me? And I said, absolutely. I'll FedEx you a DVD tomorrow and send it back when you're done and let me know how it goes.
Right.
So 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from her saying they watched the movie, and she started crying. And she said, he's agreed to go into treatment because of your movie. And, then I started crying, and I talk about this story, and I get emotional just even talking about it. And I said, then the movie did what it was supposed to do.
Right.
And she said, well, yeah, I mean, I can't put into words how grateful I am. And after we watched the movie, we sat around and hugged and cried, and he agreed. He said, I've got to fight this. And so I said, well, keep me posted. What happens? And so she kept me posted. Every 6 months she would call me and tell me that he'd gone through treatment and he was seeing the other side of it. And 2.5 years later, I got a phone call that he passed away. And it was a very emotional phone call, as you would imagine. And she said, look, you know, if it wasn't for your movie, I wouldn't have had 2 more years with my husband, and my kids wouldn't have had 2.5 more years with their father. So know that your film had a huge impact on our family.
Nice.
That's why I make movies.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not. If I was in it for the money, I would have gotten out a long time ago. There is no money in this country making movies. It's about affecting change. Right. And about being passionate about making this content. That's why I do it. And that's why we should be doing it. That's why we all should be doing it. It's got to come, you know, like it's got to be from here, it's got to be a fire burning in your belly that this is exactly what you want to do.
So, what are the filmmakers thinking when you say like, oh, I can't take this film on, I'm really sorry? You know what I mean? Like, what?
Well, I mean, I've had people get really angry at me saying, you're going to regret that decision. This film is going to be nominated for awards all over the place, and I'm going to win. We're going to get box office records. And I go, okay, go for it. If you believe that, if that's what you truly feel, do it. Don't have regret. But look, if I took on every film out there, I would never sleep and I would never eat. And I mean, I have to be very focused on the stuff that I do. It has to fit into the type of films that I make. I mean, Kiss and Cry, Still Mine, 1 Week are the kinds of films that I make. I mean, Altered Skin was the first horror movie that I ever made. Life Changer was the second. I've never really thought that I would ever make a horror movie before, but I am, obviously. And I hope I answered your questions.
Oh, thank you.
I may have gotten a little emotional.
No, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.